And I don't know if I saw anyone actually use. So whatever the newest emoji is, was a request. Let's see if people can be reminded of what it is that I made. I think it was I think people requested pitchforks following the Luigi Mangione thing. But anyway, okay, let's see. Thank you to the Dark One on Twitch for being with us for 47 months. Much appreciated. Asks if Brett is showing up for game night.
I might pop in, I think.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, I think I might do that. I'm playing golf just by myself with no friends tomorrow.
Just by yourself. Where's Jorby?
He wanted to play, but in LA, there's actually like this crazy corrupt system that's been hacked by people, so that when you everybody floods it, you can't get any tee times. But I took what I could because it was on like a TikTok video.
It's very tough being a golf player. I grant you that. I'm kidding. Anyway, that is
on the public courses. On the private course, I'm sure you can get out really easy. But these are like municipal or county courses. So
I gotcha. I see the pitchforks. Thank you, everybody. And I will just say, I was hoping to maybe go see the WWE with Jorby next Monday, and he hasn't contacted me. He just fell off contact. So I guess it's not gonna happen. My dreams
out of the country,
having fun with him. We'll come back and watch the debut of Raw on Netflix. Damn it, Jorby. Anyway, with that said, thank you, Brett. Much appreciated. Thank you, everybody. I know we technically ended the year a couple of days ago, but this is the end of the week that ends the year, so it still feels significant. Thank you, everyone, for supporting us throughout the year. Last year was a gigantic year for TDR. We really appreciate it, both in terms of the growth of our subscribers. A lot of people watch the videos and everything. They seem to enjoy what we're doing. We really do appreciate that. And we have every intention to keep doing it and more going forward. That's why we have that reminder. We're not going anywhere. So thank you for the support you've already given us. Thank you for the support I hope to come. I'll be leading the Young Turks later on today, so definitely check us out for that. For now, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
This is indisputable. I'm Sharon Reed. Dr. Ritchie has earned the day off. We appreciate you for joining us. And welcome to the one and only, very funny, Maz Jobrani. How are you?
Hi, Sharon. Happy New Year. How are you?
Happy New Year to you. I think I'm okay. We'll see how the show goes. You may have to take over at any moment. Who knows for what reason? But what do you say we just get into it and start the new year off? I would say right, but it depends on how people feel about this first one. And here we go. GOP Representative Steve Scalise blames New Orleans attack on DEI. Didn't 2024 end that way? And here we are again in 2025, very early, but here we go. GOP House Majority Leader suggests DEI to blame for New Orleans attack. Steve Scalise, the representative out of Louisiana, the Republican, says DEI is to blame for the attack on New Year's. It's not just illegal immigration, Scalise said when radio host Tommy Tucker asked what Homeland Security missed. Our friend Raw Story with the details on this one. Some of these agencies have gotten so wrapped up in the DEI movement, call it wokeness, call it whatever you want. Their main focus is on diversity and inclusion as opposed to security. And they're two very different things. We have to get back to that core mission. He added that the same activity is going on in the Department of Defense and the FBI. And so if nothing else, let's get back to these agencies keeping people safe, period. It doesn't end there, of course. Of course it doesn't. It's MAGA after all. The trolls exploit Bourbon Street terror attack to spew racist insults at Black FBI agent claiming she's unfit to lead. I don't know why they thought that. Following the news conference, right-wing social media erupted with sharp criticisms of Duncan, totally disregarding her professionalism, with MAGA loyalists amplifying racism, lies, disinformation, echoing talking points frequently used by their leader, Donald Trump, and J.D. Vance on the campaign trail. Lena Blackstar with more on this. DEI, evidence that the FBI is chronically lowering its standards are evident everywhere. User @Amuse wrote on X before misrepresenting what the agent actually said during the briefing. Take Assistant Special Agent in charge, Alethea Duncan, who initially stated that the terror attack was not being considered a terrorist attack. She was wearing a prohibited nose ring. Acting governor, let's move on there, tell you more about what they had to say. But here we go again, MAGA. Here we go again. Acting Governor Dan Patrick is calling for the termination of FBI Assistant Special Agent in charge in New Orleans, describing her actions as shocking, idiotic, alarming, after she initially didn't refer to Wednesday morning's massacre on Bourbon Street as a terrorist attack. As acting governor, earlier this morning, I spoke to our law enforcement to learn what we knew about the Texas license plate that was reported on the truck involved in the deadly terrorist attack in New Orleans. At that time, our great Texas law enforcement already had enough information to me to determine that this was a deadly terrorist attack, and ISIS flag on the truck sends a pretty clear message. Went on and on to say that it's clear leadership is lacking at the highest level of the FBI. Matt Gaetz could have fixed that, but you ran him off, didn't you? What say you? This is so played out. It's so tired to me. It would be funny if it weren't so serious. Many people died. There are things to learn. When a plane crashes, of course, you want to understand the final moments, piece things together in case there's more you can do to prevent tragedies moving forward. But here we go with Bozo the Clown and the rest of the MAGA crew making a mockery of this and blaming a Black woman who is serving her country.
Yeah, they're all clowns. I mean, it's crazy to me, you know, as someone who's an immigrant myself, from the Middle East myself, when there's a Muslim name involved, then right away you call it terrorism. But when they attack the Capitol, they're patriots. So we see the hypocrisy right there. Scalise is trying to lay blame on something that has nothing to do with, I guarantee you right now, when they wrap up their meetings in Homeland Security, they don't look around and go, all right, guys, let's go out there and be diverse. That's not what they do. Which, by the way, led me to think there's a funny sketch for like Key and Peele to do around that, because he's saying that our agencies have lost their focus. They're focused on DEI, not on doing their job, which is just idiotic. I mean, you really got to wonder if Scalise has any level of intelligence, which I don't think he does. And then you go, how do these people end up in Congress? And the fact that they want to blame, jump to the blame game and go, okay, it's DEI, or Trump said it was, first he said it was because of the open borders. And the guy's a citizen. He was born in America. He fought for the military, American military in Afghanistan. I mean, he represented, he was in the military. And the problem is, these guys want to blame everything but the problem. So when there's a shooting, it's not the guns, it's some mental health issue or whatever, but it's not the guns, never the guns. And when you get a situation like this, you look at this guy, I was reading up on him, and he clearly was headed down a bad path. There was clearly mental health issues happening. There was clearly, he had debts, he had a lot going on. And unfortunately, he chose to do what he did, which is a vicious act. And now it's, by the way, the FBI can't just come right away and go, well, the name is Abdul. Oh yeah. Jabbar. Oh yeah. He's a terrorist. They got to investigate before they say that. And that goes to this criticism they're giving of this agent down there in New Orleans, where they're saying, oh, why didn't you call it a terrorist attack right away? Because it's called investigation. What is wrong with these people? I mean, I don't get it. Sharon, what's going on?
You tell me. I remember when the outgoing FBI director sat before Congress and explained that the number one threat was this domestic terrorism and white nationalists. Remember he said that? And they said, no, how dare you? We're not going there. No such thing. Okay. And I wonder with someone like Steve Scalise, who almost died. He was targeted. He was shot. Political discourse. We remember that baseball shooting all those years ago now. Why is he behaving in such a buffoonish way when he's gotten a second lease on life? I would think that you would be so serious and not so circus-like and fresh on the heels of blood and carnage. I had to turn it off, which I always feel some kind of way about, Maz, because if people experience that, they don't have the luxury of changing the channel. But just listening over and over again to the witnesses, what they saw, the carnage, what they heard, it'll never leave them. And this is what they started doing it immediately, these clowns, saying DEI, this and that. And I'll give you the last word, but I started out by saying this is tired. I'm just sick of it. And I wonder when other people will be sick of it too.
Well, Sharon, you just said, he was a victim of an attempted, killing, basically, and he survived. And you would think that he would have an epiphany and come back and be a good person. But when you're a buffoon, you're a buffoon. I mean, Trump had someone try to kill him, and we all thought he's going to come back and give a speech that was going to be a speech of empathy and sympathy and bringing us together, and it went the opposite direction. These people don't evolve, and there's a lot of stupid people out there who are trying to lay blame on things that fit their political agenda, and we need to keep pointing out to people that are somewhat sane that these people on the right that are doing this are not right. They're on the right, but they're not right.
I wonder if we need to have, those vehicles that law enforcement uses sometimes, and they will ride down a particular avenue or street, and they will blast messages out. And I wonder if we could help deprogram some of these Americans who are just gone. They're gone, okay? Absolutely out there.
Just megaphone our way back to sanity.
This is what needs to happen, Maz, because they're not listening. And I think if you and do it all the time, and maybe it's torture, someone's trying to sleep, but it kind of gets in there. They can't even control it, but they're absorbing this deprogramming. We'll see. Yeah. That's just my thought. That's the way my mind works. Now, this is an unusual one, I say facetiously. Black teen sues school district and coach for racial abuse. What's going on here? Tell you, according to a lawsuit, Utah high school basketball coach and basketball, you understand, mocked black teen for her hair, said money is white people problem because African Americans are broke. Well, I like her hair. It's got bounce, it's curly, it's beautiful, but that's not really what this is about. I'm just telling you my preference. I love it. I love it. Ebony Davis is her name. Was a junior at Layton High in Utah in 2022, a rising star of the varsity basketball team who says she had good grades and was enjoying her high school experience. But according to a lawsuit she filed last month, that experience was marred by a barrage of racist, demeaning remarks she endured from other students and from the school's former basketball coach. Atlanta Black Star giving us the update here. In her complaint, Davis, who is black and of African American and Hispanic descent, says she was regularly called the N-word by her white peers while walking to class, and often had students ask her for an N-word pass so they could use the racial slur without recourse. I don't know why they would ask for permission. It seems to be implied at this institution, from what we're reading. Students also touched her hair without permission. Huge no-no. Oh, you don't want to do that. But they did. One student turned off the lights in a classroom and shouted, "Oh, where did Ebony go?" she alleges. Meanwhile, her basketball coach, Robert Reisbeck, who was also the school's athletics director, regularly directed statements at Davis that were racially charged and demeaning, she claims. Some comments focused on her appearance, such as when Reisbeck allegedly asked the team to line up from tallest to shortest and commented in front of her teammates that Davis's hair did not count towards her overall height, or said that a ball that hit her in the head during practice didn't hurt because she has cushioning. I mean, in Texas, they say the higher the hair, closer to God or something. But in this instance, I guess it was a crutch, undesirable. You don't touch a black woman's hair. I'm trying to tell you, okay? But some of you don't get it. During scrimmages, Reisbeck allegedly said, "Oh, look, I put the only black girl on the white team, and the white team needs a girl with hops." During Black History Month, Davis says he told her, "It's your month. We have to treat you special," and directed other students to carry Miss Davis to get a drink because you're special. These people are fools. I just want, what was the record, coach? I hope they got all the way to the state championship because there's a lot of time being taken for this tomfoolery. Hopefully they won it all. Such comments had a cumulative effect of making Davis feel uncomfortable, anxious, embarrassed, and harassed, to the point that she wanted to quit a sport she dearly loved. The complaint says she deliberately allowed her grades to fall so that her grade point average was 1.98, below the 2.0 GPA required for student athletes, so that she would have to stop playing. That assistant principal allegedly took 6 weeks and the prodding of an attorney to relay that report of racial harassment to the Davis School District's Office of Equity, in violation of the district's 2021 settlement agreement with the U.S. Department of Justice. Well, you know, when the U.S. Department of Justice has a history with you for this kind of infraction, it's not good. And nothing's changed. We see this time and time again. Settlement in 2021, that agreement with the U.S. Justice Department, which had found that severe, pervasive, and objectively offensive race-based harassment was regularly committed in schools across the district by both students and staff. Reisbeck received a written reprimand from the district and was transferred to a different position in May of 2024. I'm going to get back to that because this is essentially the issue. Transferred. Lawsuit claims he remains a social studies teacher at the school, according to the school's website. He's going to teach social studies. It's very interesting. For Davis, the racial harassment was so severe and pervasive that she deliberately abandoned her education, avoided the basketball court altogether, experienced loss of reputation, loss of association, fear, anxiety, and humiliation, the complaint says. She's seeking a jury trial to determine general, special, and punitive damages from the district and from Riesbeck, whom she argues in the lawsuit are all well aware of the constitutionally inappropriate racist culture in the district. So transferring this nincompoop, this idiot, to still work with children, given what you know, tells me everything. We could have started and ended right there. We can't force people to stop being ignorant and racist, of course. I'm sure you agree with that, Maz. But money could talk, okay? Unfortunately, when you sue a school district, taxpayers pay, but maybe they need to hurt to say, you know what, you better change here because we're not going to put up with it anymore. I want this coach, Riesbeck, well, I want to know his record too. I want him to pay personally, not a union, not the teachers union, not the district on his behalf. When people start to lose some of what their privilege got them, right? And I can say that. I can validly say that because here is someone who's the athletic director. You're in a position of power. That's cream supposed to rise to the top. Apparently a lot of cream rising to the top here, okay? And he's a fool. And it kept going and going and going. I'll give you a chance now. Go away. Can these people just go away?
Not going to happen. Not going to happen. You said in Texas, the higher the hair, the closer to God. I'm very far from God. But to your point, I mean, the fact that this exists, that these people are not aware of their actions and the repercussions of their actions, the fact that this district has had this in the past shows you that in the culture, wherever this is, I know it was in Utah, I don't know where in Utah it is, but the culture of that community seems to be blind to what they're doing and saying, which is completely inappropriate. As a father of a 13-year-old high school girl, I know how much words and actions can affect them. Yep. And there might be people on the outside who don't have young kids or haven't, or their kids are grown up or whatever. And they might say, oh, you got to toughen up. And it's just teasing. And, they use all these excuses. You go, no, it's not. It's not. At what point do we call a spade, which is what you just said? At what point do we fire this guy? At what point do we have him pay the legal fees? At what point does the school superintendent and whoever else is running this district get fired and we put someone in who starts from the top down and says these kinds of things are unacceptable at our school? This kind of language is unacceptable because you're teaching young people to get away with it and that they can get away with it and they will go into the real world and they will end up saying and doing things that we see a lot of videos of these days where people are emboldened by the MAGA movement. This is America's Trump. This is Trump's America. All of that crap. And it's unfortunate. I feel really bad for the young lady. And I feel bad for the fact that these people are so ignorant that they can't see that this is a bigger problem that needs to be dealt with. If the DOJ shows up a couple times, to your point, as you said earlier, you're doing something wrong. Yeah. It's not a witch hunt. You're doing something wrong.
They haven't been at my door, okay? And who knows? It's early in the year, but I don't know them personally. Okay, this school district does. And I think there ought to be a special circumstance. I have a 13-year-old as well, Maz, who was viciously bullied. People think it's so difficult to handle these kinds of things. It's not. You can't change people's hearts and minds, although you can impress upon them at an early age. All you can do is impose the consequences that are supposedly on the book. Isn't harassment something that you can dole out a consequence for? Yet no one seems to want to do this. And in your formative years, no one ever forgets what happened to them at that tender age. Hell, adults in corporate America and other workforces who are bullied in this way have breakdowns. It's unconscionable. And you're right, they all need to go. Even if the superintendent wasn't any way involved or near this, You should have known, and you must go. Everybody, I get rid of everybody. It can't be that bad. What if school has to open late, Sharon? Well, it's better than what's going on right now. We'll just have to get new staff. Give you the last word.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the problem, is that a lot of times they just brush it under the rug and they think they can keep going. It's kind of like, we've seen this with other stories, by the way, when the Catholic Church was just passing priests from place to place, it didn't solve the problem. It just kept it going. And so now this guy gets transferred to another school where he makes similar comments. Maybe he holds his tongue at first, but then starts making similar comments. He needs to be educated on why these comments were wrong, because in his mind, I guarantee you, as some meathead coach, he's saying, "Oh, I was just, teasing them."
Yeah.
No, you are dealing with teenagers. You are dealing with people of color. You are dealing with other people with different diverse backgrounds, and you should know how to empower them, how to make them feel like they're part of the team, how to make them feel loved, how to make them feel like they are special, rather than trying to demean them in front of people and allowing others in that school to follow suit.
I couldn't agree with you more. The kids were taking their cues, if you will, from, I like the word meathead, it's appropriate, from the meathead coach. So this child was so isolated, had no one to turn to. Lawsuit's the only way. The only way, accountability. And that's painful too, to have to go through it. They ought to settle and acknowledge what they did was wrong and voluntarily resign. But we know cowards and meatheads like this won't. We'll keep following that story. I say, Maz, it's a good thing that's an isolated incident, right? I mean, this doesn't go on everywhere. It certainly doesn't go on a lot, right? Wrong. Here we go again. I mean, we're just pulling headlines and giving you the information. We're not making this stuff up. This is a mirror. America, this is your mirror. Here we are. Sisters endure racist bullying as school staff. Does nothing. Because, it's not in our contract or something. Idaho family has sued in this instance. A school district, they allege, has blatantly ignored multiple complaints regarding racism and discrimination that two sisters suffered at their local high school. The Hodge family sued the West Ada School District, district superintendent, and Ada County for violating the constitutional rights of two Black students and fostering and permitting a hostile educational environment at Eagle High School, which included racial harassment, bullying, and discrimination. The parents of two sisters identified in the lawsuit as Jaden and A.H. filed an amended lawsuit on December 27th on behalf of their daughters. Now, I love children. I don't understand how people have no empathy. And it shouldn't be about the way they look, but all children to me look innocent and sweet. And I look at these sisters and I think, why are you targeting them? Why would you be targeting these beautiful young spirits? I don't get it. But then I'm not a racist. I'm not. The complaint alleges that both daughters endured rampant, toxic, racist behavior from their peers since 2021, and that the teachers and faculty members exhibited indifference to the harmful conduct. The suit states that both A.H. and Jaden were subjected to racial slurs and humiliation from school staff and students, and that their peers openly called both girls racial epithets in school hallways and classrooms without fear of discipline. There it is. The complaint also alleges that school administrators were well aware of these incidents, yet failed to investigate or remediate them. Just showed up, took a check, and decided to get uber racist. That's what it looks like. Suit also mentioned two teachers who engaged in behavior that made the girls targets for more bullying and harassment. One teacher falsely accused A.H. of taking nude photos in a school restroom and broadcasted those accusations to an entire class of students, which subjected A.H. to verbal attacks and isolation by her peers, the Hodges claim. Claim says another teacher also made repeated and inappropriate use of racial slurs in his classroom, which emboldened other students to engage in similar behavior. I wonder what an appropriate use of a racial slur would be. Never mind. Hodge family repeatedly urged the school administration in 2021 and 2022 to enforce action. Enforce. You heard that? Enforce. Just enforce what's on the books. To stop the harassment, according to the suit. Family alleges that when AH and Jaden made their complaints known to a school resource officer, that officer told them to, quote, just ignore it, adding that the school year was almost over. Just ignore it. There's going to be plenty of white parties and stuff you'll go to, and lemonade stands, kids. Let it go. Why are you so sensitive? That resource officer is contracted to work at the school through a partnership with the Ada County Sheriff's Office. Do you see how far this goes? The tentacles are everywhere. He's actually a law enforcement officer. Now, the parents also requested Eagle High's assistant principal and the West Ada district superintendent discipline the offending students and staff and establish anti-discrimination policies. However, neither leader took meaningful steps to address the family's concerns, which allowed the harassment to persist, the complaint states. Now, here's the district superintendent, Dr. Derek Bubb. I like your hairline. I don't much care for his. Okay, Moss? He looks like a goober. And it's something like this. You mentioned not long ago that it's teaching kids that they can get away with this behavior because they can. You are perpetuating this American entrenched systemic ignorance by saying do whatever you want. They're black, actually, so you're good. They not like us. You're good to keep going. So what do we do with this one in Idaho, Moss?
Well, this one shows us that, as you said at the beginning, that this is not an isolated incident, that it keeps happening and all over the country. Eagle High sounds like a miserable place. And once again, it's this idea of top down. There's got to be zero tolerance for this. I don't understand how we are in 2025 now, and these people that are the educators are not evolved enough to understand the damage that this type of stuff does to these young minds. And I'm sure there's, again, these people that are reading these things from the outside and going, oh, these kids got to toughen up. Back in my day, we used to call each other this and that. We used to do this and that. That doesn't make it right that you used to do this and that and they called each other this and that. And also think about all the damage that's caused you that you need to go pay a therapist for to deal with because there were not people looking out for you when you were younger. So rather than continuing the cycle, we need to break the cycle and we need to evolve and we need to hold these schools accountable and we need to hold the leaders accountable, and they need to set a top-down zero tolerance policy for this kind of talk and this kind of language, and also take seriously anytime anyone comes in from, and tells you about something that is, damaging them in some way. Sometimes I think also staff and administration don't take the kids seriously. As you said in one of those the things you were reading, someone said, "Oh, just let it go. Just move on." No, don't just move on. Don't let it go, because you're damaging two people. You're damaging the victim who is coming to you and telling you what she is enduring, and you're also damaging the future of the perpetrator of this racism, because they get away with it, and they will continue to try to get away with it until somebody punches them in the mouth.
Yeah, until they get that first consequence, which will shock the system. Some never get it, but shock the system. And just like I previously, again, this is just how my mind works. I talked about the vehicles that law enforcement use going down the street, just with that megaphone, shout these messages to deprogram these racists. Sometimes I think, well, maybe the blacks, as Trump would say, across the country, black and brown should join, maybe a class action suit. Take it to all those black women judges that Joe Biden pushed through. Okay? He was mentally fit to do that, you see. Okay? He got that done, didn't he? Let's take some dramatic and drastic measures here. Maz Jobrani, appreciate you. And I meant what I said. I like your hairline. It fits you. I don't know what you would look like with hair. I think this is great.
I used to have it.
Did you really? Well, I like this look. It's eternally youthful. I don't know if that's what you're going for, but it's nice. Okay. The bird brain superintendent of the Idaho School District, not so much. Not so much. And he needs to use sunscreen next time because I saw redness, and that's not good either. This is indisputable. Dr. Ritchie has the day off. I'm Sharon Reed, alongside our special guest co-host, Maz Jobrani. We'll be right back.
Now, I'm going to do something very different here and read some one-star reviews of the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Donnie Franchise said, pretty much it's like listening to a trash compactor. Someone else said, negative, anti-American propaganda. And others said, out of context, misquotes, typical leftists who are afraid to debate, just smear. These two would be perfect for CNN or MSLSD. Well, Donnie, you might have a point, because I feel like a trash compactor right now after taking in all those garbage reviews. But thanks for listening anyway. We are, in fact, unapologetically progressive. And if you're not ready for bold commentary, then we're not the show for you. On the Young Turks, we speak up about the issues that matter, and we want to make positive change happen. And now here's why we actually do the show. Mariel Morales said, found this podcast from the true crime podcast, Fruit Loops, and other great progressive podcasts. I've become an instant fan of the Young Turks. Great conversation, great takes, very well composed, factual podcast, very informative. Love to hear that. Z55 said, it's a joy to experience such awareness and intelligence from fascinating people. And Anna is gorgeous and brilliant. Apparently I'm just fascinating, but I'll take it. Paul for Progress said, news well delivered. Appreciate it. KOOK said, Democrats and Republicans are fair game for TYT. And if Anna or Cenk provide disinformation about anything, they will admit they made a mistake and correct it. We appreciate you noticing that we are honest. To people who actually listen to the substance of the show, thank you. Your listenership supports what we do. Leave a 5-star rating for the Young Turks on Apple Podcasts. Let's take the ratings back from the trolls. Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. Here at TYT, we understand this. That's why we're not going to price gouge you or use inflation as an excuse to raise our prices. A TYT membership is not your typical subscription, but basic membership is still just $4.99. So what do you get for that price? For starters, you're getting exclusive programming, unique, exclusive designs from Shop TYT, access to a members-only chat, giveaways, emojis, and so many other amazing perks. But most importantly, you're helping to make an impact. As a TYT member, you not only help us do the shows every day, but you drive real positive change in the process. In 2017, we helped to start Justice Democrats right here on TYT. That's a group that got a dozen progressives elected into Congress. That's amazing, you did that. Your support also funds TYT's very own investigative reporting. Just recently, our reporters exposed the Fellowship Foundation and pressured lawmakers into boycotting that bigoted event. Isn't that amazing? We raised over $30,000 for Jackson, Mississippi, and delivered clean water to thousands of people in need. Our petitions, polls, and community of activists help keep the corruption of Washington in check. That's the impact of what just $4.99 a month from our members can do, and we're just getting started. Positive change doesn't occur overnight, but with your contribution, we can make it happen together. You know that viral video you saw of me? First of all, it's bull. Second of all, they got it from a snippet of the live show. You should check out the live show so you see the full context of everything we say. Weekdays, 6 o'clock Eastern, Young Turks on YouTube or wherever you get TYT.
The support we receive from members is the backbone of our movement to drive positive change. We need viewers like you to keep moving forward. Visit tyt.com/team and join our movement today.
This is Indisputable. Dr. Richie has the day off. I'm Sharon Reed alongside the extraordinary comedian Joe Brawny, Maz Jobrani.
That's
Okay.
I should have gone with Jobrani.
No.
That would have been
No.
easier.
Haven't had my medication yet today. Woke up a little late. Maz.
Well,
Apologies.
No problem. You know, Sharon, if I went with Jobrani, I would have to take steroids and get big because everyone would
Paper
expect.
towel, right? Isn't this the paper towel guy?
Yeah, Brawny.
Right?
Joe Brawny.
And that's just what's on my mind. But no, you're an extraordinary comedian. Matter of fact, tell people what you're up to. I know you have a little time off, but you were busy. You were busy for a good while here.
Yeah, I tell people, I say, if you're into stand-up comedy, check out my calendar, mazjobrani.com. Chances are I will be coming to you because I tour so much. I'll be in Miami. I'll be in LA. I'll be all over Canada. I'll be in Philadelphia. I'll be in Atlanta. I'll be in Boston. I'll be in San Francisco. I'm everywhere. So if you're somewhere, I'll be there. And tell my family I love them.
I butchered the name, or else I'm too ashamed to ask for tickets when you come to Atlanta, so I'll pay. Okay.
No, you come on. I'd love to see you.
I think you should be eligible to get some of the stock, and I believe they might have ripped off your likeness, the towel people. Okay.
Yes,
I did.
sure.
Let's go to some of your comments. TYT members first. A lot of you talking about not one but two racist school districts. Those are the accusations. Andrew Martinez says sounds like that school is teaching them how to be racist. Well, yeah, they probably get A+ in that course. Well, so they wanted something. They're good at that. Love Yourself 24 says if they can shut down a school for failure to have certified teachers, they can shut down a school for failing to have teachers with common sense. Now, this makes me so mad. Me too, Love Yourself. YouTube, Sharon and Maz. Perfect way to start the weekend. Thank you. Hell of a year so far, Marcus Aurelius says. About the Utah school, Dro Mario says the only thing different from now and 1619 is technology. Well, I can't argue against it. Twitch, we'll go there quickly. Stein Levithan, baby, not the touching hair. Okay, so this is the one racist incident in Utah where the young lady, age 13, says it was torture. And oh yeah, they touched her hair. Every fool knows that. 2025, everybody knows that. Better watch yourself. Is MAGA just making schools racist again? LV18, white girl, well, yes. Sure, why not? We say yes. I go with yes. It's funny because I think the way several schools are going, this should be a course that they introduce. And I think students would excel at it as well because their parents are exhibiting this, as Maz and I talked about, and the kids are embodying Karenicity as well, right? So give them something that's easy. It used to be a PE, right? Everybody should get an A. Everybody gets an A, right? Even the kid who's a little heavy, he shows up, he dresses for PE, why not? Same thing here. This is a throwaway course when you're inherently good at it. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
You're gonna remember me? And you're gonna wish it with somebody so close to God!
I wish he'd come over here.
You ugly! I made myself ugly for you guys!
I don't know if you heard all that. This is a male Karen going, well, on a massive tirade, leaving TJ Maxx, which, I don't know if he did damage or not, but you go into these stores, particularly after the holiday season, and it's enough to kind of peek through to get what's left of the deals. But in this case, you have a big mouth, very loud male Karen going on this tirade here. I thought I heard him say he made himself ugly or something like that. He could have said something else. What do you make of this? And I don't know if you've ever even encountered this, Maz, but it can be scary to those who have not come face to face with these extraordinary creatures. What say you?
Have we decided what a male Karen is called? Do we have a name for the male
Ken.
Karen?
I like Ken sometimes.
Ken? Okay, Ken works.
Yeah, but it's androgynous, really. It's like they don't really, sex isn't even important, right?
Yeah. Well, listen, this kind of stuff is just, it's actually heartbreaking to me because I see, we see that there's, again, big mental health issue that we are not able or we're not dealing with. A lot of this goes back to the lack of medical care that this country should have. This country should have medical care for all, and it should be accessible, and it should be priced in such a way that everyone can access it, and they should be encouraged to be seeing a medical professional, in this case, for a psychologist or a psychiatrist, whatever that person needs. Because the truth is, you and I have both been in a Target or a Starbucks or a fast food place and had that thought for a second. You have that thought for a second of like, oh, is this person going to do something? Are they going to say, you know what I'm saying? You see that a little bit, and it always saddens me because, again, we as a society don't take care of those people, and we put a lot more emphasis on giving tax breaks to corporations than to actually helping somebody like this who clearly is not of sane mind.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. And mental health is something that we don't still, again, it's 2025, we don't discuss enough. It's stigmatized. I have a friend who grew up in Paris, Simon. And I remember we were having lunch years ago, and he explained that, well, his sister, himself, they would go see a psychiatrist all the time growing up, just because that was what the French did, just to make sure they're well. And their parents said, you give them an outlet, somebody to talk to. And yet he was just kind of amazed that here in the United States, it's taboo. More people are saying, yeah, my therapist is that, but a lot of people still won't dare discuss it or even pick up the phone and make an appointment because it's that tragic. And you're right. We could help, especially people under so much pressure and trauma, given what's going on in this country. I'm sad too. It is sad, and we wish them well. I will say this, the other issue is, went on the tirade and got out of there seemingly okay. Now, sometimes, a lot of times, when you are having a mental health crisis and you don't look like that, Ken, you may not make it out of there unscathed. We should note. I'll give you the last word, Maz.
You're absolutely right. It could have escalated. These things do escalate. And, it goes back to what we said, which is we need to prioritize things that we are not prioritizing. We need to prioritize healthcare, mental health, education, all of the stuff that we need as a society to build from, bottom up, from birth up, we neglect and we put the emphasis on the wrong things. And then we end up in a situation like this where people will, they'll complain about it. They'll poo-poo on this person, whoever they were. but we're not dealing with the problem.
And we act shocked when we then see the sickness that is bubbling up to the surface. So we'll move on to this one. A lot of talk, a lot of chatter in and out of Hollywood about it. And it's interesting because people think, well, you wrong me, I'll file a lawsuit. It's just very black and white. But issues that, particularly concerning harassment, aren't always black and white. And we're learning that. There's online reaction to Justin Baldoni leaking now texts with actress Blake Lively in their lawsuit. Blake Lively's alleged texts exposed in Justin Baldoni's $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times. Listen to his California attorney breaking it down.
This text message exchange, where Blake Lively states, "We'll show you both ways, but Beanie's much sexier. It's the look. Feels TV without it." The third text message exchange between Justin and Blake is the screenshot right here, where Justin states, "Just hired intimacy coordinator, who I love. We'll set you up to meet / FaceTime with her next week for intro." And Blake responds, "I feel good. I can meet her when we start. Thank you, though." Justin then sends this screenshot to a female producer and says, "Just FYI, just wanted to tell you about this. Seems like she doesn't want to meet the intimacy coordinator until we start." So now let's go to the text between Justin and his team. On August 19, we get these messages between Justin and his team, where Melissa states, "Good morning, sharing with you a perfect example of why we don't use bots." And Justin responds, "How can we somehow state that we are not doing any of this? It looks like we are trying to take her down." Justin goes on to state, "Okay, please monitor. Things I'm more worried about is that we are planting these stories," which is not true, obviously. Jen then chimes in, stating that this is people reacting to Blake's own actions in interviews. Next, we get these texts between Justin Baldoni and Melissa Nathan, which is a link to a TikTok that's a TikTok creator claims she received sketchy DMs instructing her how to discuss the Blake Lively-Justin Baldoni drama PR. Justin states, "This is not us, correct? Assuming the guy we brought in would never do this." Melissa responds, "None of us would ever do this."
I think we're stupid. Okay, okay. It seems a little self-serving to me, but let's play this thing out. We got a lot more to tell you about. Justin Baldoni fired back at Lively's claims of sexual harassment as part of his $250 million lawsuit against the New York Times by submitting the actress's alleged text messages. See, nothing to see here. He's reported by In Touch. So here's what's going on. Justin, age 40, and his legal team included several text messages obtained by In Touch, allegedly sent by Blake, 37, to refute her claims. In a suit, Justin claims the New York Times wrote a one-sided story based on a complaint Blake filed with the California Civil Rights Department. Justin's lawyers claim the story pushed Lively's unverified and self-serving narrative, lifting it nearly verbatim, while disregarding an abundance of evidence that contradicted her claims and exposed her true motive. Ran a story that was one-sided. New York Times denied those allegations. Blake filed her own lawsuit days after her petition with the California Civil Rights Department became public. She accused Justin of sexual harassment, retaliation. She claimed he hired crisis publicists to smear her after she complained about his alleged behavior on set. Now, Blake included text messages from the crisis PR reps as part of her effort to prove the smear campaign. Justin denied he was inappropriate on set or that he had conducted a smear campaign against her. In addition, she claimed Justin referred to women on set as sexy. Blake claimed the two men entered her trailer unannounced on multiple occasions while she was getting dressed. In his lawsuit against the New York Times, Justin addressed some of Blake's claims. First, he attached a text message she sent showing her describing a character as sexier when talking about wardrobe. The allegation that Baldoni inappropriately described Lively's character's attire as sexy is exaggerated and misleading. Text exchanges between Baldoni and Lively show that Lively had insisted that her character's clothing be much sexier. When Baldoni later used the word sexy, he was just responding to her creative input, not objectifying her personally. Lively set the tone that Baldoni heeded during the creative process, his lawyer wrote. Justin Baldoni accuses Ryan Reynolds, Lively's husband, of berating. With his complaint, Baldoni's legal team alleged that he and some of the It Ends With Us producers were called to a meeting at Lively and Reynolds' New York City apartment in January 2024, the day before filming was set to resume after industry guild strikes ended. People magazine with more on this one. There, Reynolds launched into a tirade berating Baldoni in what he later described as a traumatic encounter, stating he had never been spoken to like that in his life, the complaint alleges. Baldoni, 40, claims Reynolds, 48, demanded an apology for Lively, accusing him of fat-shaming her. And when Baldoni resisted apologizing for what he had not done, Reynolds became further enraged. Now, here's what social media is saying. Listen.
Now, as other Black women have mentioned on here, I am always extremely cautious when a white woman cries wolf, okay? I really, really am. And you can accuse me of not being a girl's girl or whatever, but at the end of the day, when you look at Blake Lively's history, you might start to understand why women who look like me were always a little bit on the fence about jumping on the Blake Lively bandwagon. Now, starting off strong, Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively got married on a plantation, okay? And if by this point you don't understand how absolutely sick and twisted that is, I can't help you. To get married in a place known for levels of concentrated human suffering unknown to man since the times of chattel slavery, crazy. And they may have done their best to scrub any pictures of their wedding from the internet, but you know those pictures hang in their house.
Black folk in the workplace, we know. You know. Just know that with complaints like that, it's best to see all sides, because sometimes interpretation really means the most. And we know what it's like to be dogpiled based on the tears of someone else. Drives home an ultimate point about working relationships that Black women taught me. Them folks ain't your friends.
You see, it's not just simple when you're dealing with these issues. I say a lot of things can be true at once. That's what I say. I don't know. This woman mentioned in Blake's complaint responds with her experience meeting Justin at a premiere. Play that.
I found out that Blake Lively included me in her lawsuit documentation when all these news outlets started to DM me. He talked about how he attended counseling sessions of men who were abusers so that he could understand his part in the movie more. He talked about how he partnered with counselors and support systems for women who have experienced domestic violence so that he could really, show the support and be able to give a more authentic take. He also talked about how he could never understand what it feels like to be a woman in this situation. He said, I don't know what it's like to have to carry pepper spray to get to my car and, all of that kind of stuff, which I really appreciated hearing him say. When I met him, he was nothing but kind. And I just happened to notice that in Blake Lively's interviews, she never mentioned domestic violence, which pissed me off.
Thank you to the woman who met Baldoni. Okay, I don't, So here's where I'm at with it. I'm a woman. Yes, I am. Who's experienced things in the workplace like a lot of women. I'm a Black woman. White women tears are a real problem. Real problem. A real problem in and out of the workplace. Big time. But Maz, to me, there were people who were there. Some of the people speaking on it were not. And I think you can be full of white privilege, be married to white privilege, get married on a plantation, have misunderstandings with people, be a brat once in a while and still be sexually harassed. I have no right to weigh in, but it's never stopped me before. And I find Baldoni's text not that impressive that he released with the actress Blake Lively. Self-serving and cherry-picked likely. This is ugly. It's like the Amber Heard Johnny Depp thing. I know where I stand on that. I just did, but many people didn't get it, just like they didn't understand Anita Hill and Clarence Thomas. I'd like to think I did through my lenses as a woman. I don't even know if we should be commenting on it, but I'm going to ask you, based on your experience in this life, what you think about this?
Well, when I see a thing like this is why I never make movies with beautiful people. Because something's going to go wrong. Something's going to go wrong, man. No, I actually have also met Justin Baldoni. I did his podcast, and he was a very nice guy, but that doesn't mean that I know the be-all, end-all of it all. What's interesting watching what you were just showing is we now live in a society where you have to try to win the battle in the public eye and on social media as well as in court. So you have his lawyer, whoever that was, pointing out all those texts and arguing. Basically, it felt like she was arguing in court to convince us that he was right or he was innocent. So it's interesting how they have to have this dual thing, because in my mind, I'm saying there's so much, nuance to this, and there's obviously what she took from it and what he is bringing to it, that I think a court is the best place to go and figure this out, and it's unfortunate really that it has to even come to that, because you would hope that two people like this could work together. I actually liked what that other person was saying in the second clip you showed, where he said, these people are not your friends, meaning don't mix your work with your friends. Like, don't get too comfortable around your work associates, your colleagues. And that's a great piece of advice, because I think we all fall for it. We all forget that when you're in the office, when you're on set, such a good camaraderie, and you're joking and you're saying things, and you think you're with your friends, and then you come to find out, oh no. So that guy was pretty wise with what he said. Yeah. And I would say we really need to let the courts kind of look at all the evidence, because to your point, we've seen bits and pieces from one side, bits and pieces from the other side. And oh gosh. By the way, I saw the movie was pretty good. The movie was good. Baldoni was the director. It's got definitely, what's that?
And the star, right?
And the star, as was Blake Lively, and it had a very positive message, and it killed in the box office, and to the point where, even given all this controversy, Netflix has kept it on. So Netflix has not said, oh, we want to wash our hands of it. They're like, oh, people are watching this. To Netflix, they're probably thinking, oh, this is the best press we could have gotten. Yeah. It goes to the point where if you were a conspiracy theorist, you'd say, are they making this up to get all this? Yeah. It's kind of like when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock and everyone said, was that staged to get more eyeballs? But I don't think that's the case. I think there's a real thing going on here. And again, I would just defer to the courts to figure out who was in the right and who was in the wrong.
I think you're right. And if it weren't so serious, I would suggest that there's probably PR teams behind the scenes that are trying to get this settled, and they'll just say, hey, we did it for the show. We did it for the movie. Ha ha. We tricked you. But I don't think that's coming. The one thing I will say that lacks credibility in Justin's story, if I were a jury right now, and you can say it's not fair, Sharon, you're not being fair. Oh, well, sometimes I'm not fair. Ryan Reynolds doesn't scare me. So I don't know how his berating would traumatize you. That's why. That's it. Okay.
Well, no. Okay. Let me defend him here, because you got to think about this. You get an invite from Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively to their New York City apartment. I'm guessing it's a penthouse or a nice apartment in January of 2024, coming off the holidays. You're calling your friends. You're like, dude, I just got an invite to Ryan. We're going to go. It's going to be a great time. I just got a call from Deadpool. We're going to go to his house. We're going to hang out. We're going to have cocktails and discuss the next steps coming off of this strike that we had that delayed our shooting. It's going to be a great party. And then you go there and you get yelled at. I mean,
you didn't know the show was about you, Justin.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Maybe he didn't bring wine. He should have brought a gift or something.
Should have brought wine.
Something expensive, those Hollywood types. But you're right. It belongs in the courts. But I like to think I have this crystal ball or something going on up here. And I'm telling you, I mean, how big is Ryan Reynolds? But whatever.
No, he's a big. Brian Reynolds is pretty big. I don't know if you've seen Deadpool. I think he's like 6'4", 6 something.
I thought they just, in post make people look bigger than they are. But okay. So you're saying he's all right.
I think he's pretty. But also, again, like I think it's kind of like I heard the story of how Quentin Tarantino got Brad Pitt to do Inglourious Basterds. He supposedly flew to France, where Brad Pitt has some chateau or something, and he said
Angelina didn't take it from him.
Well, yeah, exactly. Maybe he had it, maybe he doesn't anymore. But he said we just drank a bunch of bottles of wine, and by the time we're done, he goes, "I'm in, let's go." So again, to Justin's defense in this case, I don't know what the facts are, but if it played out the way he did, he probably thought, oh, we're gonna go drink some wine, we'll have a good time, and then to get yelled at.
Yeah.
Oh
Instead,
gosh.
clocked his tea, didn't they? The husband
Yeah.
clocked his tea.
Yeah.
Well, it is what it is. But it's not over. It's not
Yeah.
over. Okay.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Just
take a quick
beginning.
break. It's just beginning, and maybe
Yeah.
they need to have a sequel to the hit.
Well, the irony that it's called It Ends With Us, it's actually starting with them.
Yeah. You done started something big, okay? And we're all now invested. This is indisputable. Maz Jobrani joins us, the extraordinary comedian who is always on tour and will be coming to a city near you. What's the website that they can check the tour lineup?
MazJobrani.com, MazJobrani.com.
You got it. Dr. Richie has the day off. I'm Sharon Reed, and we will be right back.
Hey everyone, Matteo Scarapo here, author of Black Buck, which is Shop TYT's first fiction book ever. I'm honored. So, Black Buck is about a young man named Darren who's living in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. He lives with his mom, he has his girlfriend, he has his best friend, he has his neighborhood, and his neighborhood has him. Darren's also working at a Starbucks in Midtown Manhattan. And one day, this man, who's real suave and good looking, comes in and asks Darren to give him his regular. But for some reason, Darren says no. This man named Rhett Daniels, who's the CEO of a startup called Someone, located on the 36th floor of the same building, is impressed. And he invites Darren upstairs, and then he extends an offer to join his elite sales team. Darren reluctantly joins, and he soon realizes that he's not the only black salesperson there. He's the only black person in the entire company. So he goes through hell and back in order to make it to the top. And once there, he has status, money, power, but he says, you know what? I don't like being the token black guy. So he hatches a plan to help other people of color infiltrate America's tech startup sales teams, redefining what it means to be a minority in the workplace. This book definitely, if you couldn't tell, touches on many things that are relevant to this moment that we're all living in right now, but it's also connected to the many moments in history that have come before today. I hope that you read it, I hope that you enjoy it, and if you want to order a copy, go to shoptyt.com. Thank you, be well, and happy 2021.
Thank you for being members, by the way, of either TDR or of TYT. We really appreciate it. We could not do this, without you. Would I still be here without you? That is an open question.
I really love what y'all do on the Young Turks, man, and it's a very refreshing, voice. Y'all don't lean to one side. I tell people all the time, if you want to go really hear what's going on honestly in our society, you should tune in to the Young Turks.
Thank you, Charlamagne. We appreciate that.
That's awesome. Really appreciate it, brother. The rest of the news media says you should not fight for positive change. If you do, you're not really a reporter or a journalist, because reporters and journalists don't care what happens. I don't agree. That's not written anywhere. That's not a law. It's just a rule that they invented so that reporters didn't actually challenge the people that are in power. Well, we don't agree with that. We think we should challenge the people in power, that actually makes you a better journalist, not a worse one.
Hi, I'm John, and I'm new to TikTok, but about 3 years ago, I started my daily political news show, The Damage Report, because I noticed this trend where every morning I was waking up to this tsunami of news that was just generally dreadful and horrifying and shocking, and I thought that if I could spend my time helping people to navigate this, serving as a bit of a life raft, pointing out which news is important and why, there are worse ways to spend your day. We're not an average news show, and we don't want our TikTok presence to be average either, so feel free to let us know what you'd like us to do on the platform, and maybe give us a follow at The Damage Report.
All right, Amazon Prime members, here's how you can subscribe for free on Twitch. Start by linking your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account, and then click that little subscribe or resubscribe button below the stream on Twitch. Scroll down and select the subscribe free with Prime button, and then you're finished. Close out immediately and share your little subscription alert with the chat. Send a cute message along with it, and bathe in the sweet, twitchy, Bezos-funded love. Hashtag Bezos Bucks.
Sharon Reed alongside Maz Jobrani. Dr. Richie has the day off. This is indisputable. And we're back. And, you know, before I get into this next one, I want to say this. There's people out there saying, stop downing the police. Sure, they're not perfect. We need the police. And we do. We need the police to stop doing things like this. That's what we need. Okay? Kentucky cop beats missing Black veteran with Alzheimer's. Watch.
Do you take any kind of medication or something? No, your pupils are very, very, very tiny, pinpointed. Can you look up in the air for me?
Yeah, I don't drink. I don't drug.
Go ahead and turn around and put your hands behind your back for me. You got cocaine in your nose.
Man, that's a lie. That's a lie. Oh, man, you
let go of my hand, goddammit. You understand me? Put your hands behind your back.
Well, that escalated quickly, didn't it? Apparently, this officer is also a medic and a pathologist and a lot of other things. Kentucky, George Henderson on the left, a 61-year-old man with Alzheimer's disease, disappeared from his Tennessee home early last month, prompting local police to issue a silver alert for the man. Henderson spent almost 3 decades in the U.S. Army, where he served in 6 overseas deployments, receiving head injuries and PTSD as a result. Retired Master Sergeant ended up beaten unconscious by Guthrie police officer Jacob Pritchett on the right, who accused Henderson of being under the influence of cocaine and arrested him on 5 criminal charges that remain pending, despite a lack of evidence to support those charges. Henderson disappeared from his home in Clarksville around 2 p.m. December 6. Silver Alert, which is a public notification system to share information about missing elderly people suffering from dementia and other mental disabilities, was issued at 4 p.m. by both the Clarksville Police Department and the Tennessee Bureau of Investigations. It's according to Clarksville Now. Temperatures dropping to 25 degrees that night, Henderson somehow ended up across state lines in Kentucky, where he was found 10 hours later in a gas station after the attendant called police to say Henderson attempted to get inside his parked car. The attendant was under the impression Henderson was trying to steal his car, but it appears as if Henderson was simply confused because of his disabilities. Atlanta Blackstar giving us more on this one. When Pritchett arrived, Henderson appeared confused and incoherent, but not dangerous or violent. I ain't doing nothing. I ain't trying to steal nothing, Henderson told the officer while wearing 2 different shoes on his feet. Cop then asked if he had any guns or knives as Henderson placed his hands inside his pockets, prompting the cop to grab one of his wrists and tell him to take your hands out of your pockets. I don't have no guns, Henderson said. Cop then walked to the gas station attendant who claimed that Henderson was trying to steal his car, told the officer that Henderson had to pull him out of his car and assaulted him. When the cop asked Henderson if he had been inside the attendant's car, he did not provide a coherent response, which led the cop to believe he was under the influence of drugs instead of suffering from a mental disability. You take any kind of medication or something? Pritchett asked Henderson. Your pupils are very, very, very tiny, pinpointed. Can you look up in the air for me? Footage from Jacob Pritchett's body cam also shows the cop accusing Henderson of having very, very, very tiny pinpointed eyes before accusing him of having cocaine in his nose. I don't drink, I don't do drugs, Henderson said. But cocaine is known for causing eyes to become dilated, according to a fact sheet prepared by the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration. The complete opposite of pinpointed eyes, an important detail which evidently was not part of Pritchett's training. He also shows Pritchett ordering Henderson to let go of my hand. God damn it. After Henderson was rendered unconscious face down on the floor, but both the cop's hands remained visible and free of Henderson's grasp. Pritchett also accused Henderson of biting his hand during the struggle, but that is not evident in the video. It's only after paramedics arrived to treat Henderson for the laceration he received behind his right ear that Guthrie police learned that Henderson was the subject of a silver alert hours earlier out of neighboring Tennessee. Cop punched him in the back of the head, accusing him of holding onto his hand, but the video shows, look, Ma, no hands. His hands are free. Guthrie Police Chief Dean Blumel in a statement said, it was not dispatched to our dispatch. So that's what we do. We start immediately with the defense. Right. Nothing to see here. Based on the information Officer Pritchett had that was available to him and the circumstances that were presented during the interaction, Officer Pritchett handled the matter consistent with his training and departmental policy. Redo your policy and your training, pal. Pritchett was hired by the Guthrie Police Department September 2022, according to a Facebook post by the law enforcement agency, where he was described as a veteran who spent 6 years in the Army. Henderson was slapped with 5 charges that remain pending despite little evidence to back those up, including theft by unlawful taking, public intoxication, resisting arrest, assault of a police officer, and possession of a controlled substance, although that substance is not specified in the report, according to Clarksville Now. One thing law enforcement should have, because you can't teach everything, you can't train everything, is common sense and street smarts, perhaps. He didn't know anything about what a coke head looked like, apparently. But here we are. All these charges later to try to make it go away so no one sees the department or, hey, both sides played hard. It's despicable to me. If you can be trained, I use air quotes, to arrest somebody and suspect them of drug addiction or public intoxication, I would think that mental health crisis or something else, dementia, that could cross your mind too, but apparently it didn't. And so somebody's left unconscious and now they're facing all these charges. And oh, by the way, they have dementia. What say you, Moss?
Well, first of all, I didn't know that cocaine in your nose was illegal. I thought if you had the bag in your pocket, you know, but I thought if you get it in your nose, you win. Like, but like at that point, you know, public intoxication, here's the ticket, go home. No, we all saw in that video how quickly that officer escalated it, because once you start accusing this gentleman of having cocaine in his nose, and then the gentleman gets defensive, and then, you know, it becomes violent, as opposed to, you know, being de-escalated. I think that obviously being a cop is not an easy job. They have a lot of decisions to make. There's a lot of quick decisions that need to be made. But when people were talking about defund the police, somebody had mentioned rethink the police. And rethinking the police means when you end up in a situation like this, you have someone who's there with you who has some mental health training so that they can say, wait a minute, this, you know, hey, you know, imagine if this cop had someone, again, this goes back to our priorities as a country. If we had the funds for these departments to have a mental health specialist with them on a call like this. It wasn't like they got a call saying, hey, there's a robbery happening. You know, the guy said the guy's trying to take my car, but he wasn't being, he didn't have a gun, he wasn't violent. So if you send out a mental health specialist, that person at that point could have said, hey, let's talk for a second, and gone with, you know, the officer and said, look, this isn't drugs, this is something else. And then they go back and they de-escalate and they find out that this poor gentleman was missing and was being looked for. And so, yeah, I think rethinking the police would be something this country could could benefit from a lot.
Rethink them, repurpose, figure it out is what I would say. Because what you're doing now, even the clerk, I get it, somebody's messing with your car or something, but nothing dawned on you that, okay, the gentleman's in crisis here, something's going on here. You didn't need to go to this, Barney Fife type thing where the man's unconscious and now you're loaded down with charges and his superior is defending this conduct as if we don't know any better. As if we don't know, but I think we do. We'll move on to this very sad one, and now accountability. A NICU nurse charged with child abuse and malicious wounding. This is out of Virginia. Henrico police arrested a Henrico Doctors Hospital NICU nurse, Erin Stratman, charging the woman with felony counts of malicious wounding and abuse of a child causing serious injury. Erin Stratman was taken into custody Thursday and booked at Henrico Jail West early Friday morning. See the mugshot there? Comes 1 week after the hospital announced it was temporarily stopping admissions to the neonatal intensive care unit after 3 babies were found to have unexplained fractures in late November and December. This is heartbreaking. Circumstances of the recent fractures are similar to incidents involving 4 different babies at the hospital in the summer of 2023, according to a statement from HCA, which runs Henrico Doctors Hospital. Among those babies was Noah Hackey, whose tibia was fractured while in the NICU at the hospital in September 2023. WTVR News shared that Hackey's family's story last week, including a letter from a Child Protective Services supervisor that says CPS found at level 1 for physical abuse of Noah by an employee by the Henrico Doctors Hospital NICU. However, CPS was not able to identify that employee. Henrico County Commonwealth's attorney, Shannon Taylor, confirmed her office reopened Noah's case and others earlier this week. Stratman was placed on paid administrative leave in 2023 after the hospital conducted an internal investigation, according to Virginia Department of Social Services, the records obtained exclusively by CBS 6. She was determined to be one of 2 staff persons found to have had contact with all of the infants in the time frame identified. And unlike the other employee, Stratman was new to the unit and had more direct care responsibilities with the NICU infants. However, CPS and police said they could not determine who the abuser was at the time. WTVR News has asked HCA when Stratman's paid administrative leave ended, when she returned to work, and if she is still an employee of the hospital system. They're waiting to hear back. Taylor said the investigation is ongoing. I don't know if she did it or not. We'll see, I guess. We may never know. But this is gut-wrenching when you think of the most vulnerable. Can't talk, can only cry, pain, unknown, fractured, and when do you even discover it? Every time you pick up the child, they're probably writhing in pain, a fractured tibia. Well, what do you have to say about this one, Maz? It's, like I said, gut-wrenching. I can't imagine, as a mother, my child having gone through this.
I'm surprised it's taken so long for them to discover the possible perpetrator, because I thought hospitals would have cameras, especially in a NICU unit. You would think that they would be watching these babies and that nobody could do something like this. I mean, obviously, whoever's done this, whether it's this lady or someone else, is a monster, and it is an atrocious act. And I hope that once they discover who the actual perpetrator was, that they can bring that person to, some sort of justice. But again, why are these hospitals not, monitored better? I honestly thought that they would have cameras in these places. So it just shocks me that it took so long. And then again, we keep going back to the mental health issue. Whoever's doing this has mental health problems, and it gets to the point where they act out with things like this, and it shocks us, and we go, why would they do it? You know, we started this whole episode with the New Orleans terror attack. Why would the guy do this? And again, you see he had mental health problems. He had a lot happening, and it got him, not to excuse any of it, but just to say, to understand that we need to put more emphasis on helping those who are struggling, and you know, turning to acts like this. It's just atrocious.
There's no coincidence here, and we need to protect those who cannot speak for themselves. And I too believe the hospital has a lot of weight here, because I don't understand why you wouldn't have, they should be able to know exactly what happened and when. This is a NICU unit. They don't, the cameras aren't invading privacy in that regard. Babies are stolen. We know that hospitals have had to undertake extraordinary measures to make sure children aren't stolen. So there are some real questions here, and why it took so long, and the hospital's security system. It's all got to be unpacked. This is Indisputable. Dr. Richie has the day off. Maz Jobrani, extraordinary comedian Sharon Reed here, filling in for Doc. We're right back.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now I know what you're thinking, Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago, when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show. I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently when I have these red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen, I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I do. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw, all hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy way of putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. You know, say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
Welcome back to Indisputable. Dr. Richie has the day off. He's earned it. We have Maz Jobrani joining us, which a lot of you, all of us, support your comedy and your extraordinary career. And before we get to some comments, again, tell us what's next for you.
I am on tour all over the country, all over the world. You can go to mazjobrani.com. Come see me live. You can watch my YouTube special called The Birds and the Bees. It's free. You can watch my Netflix special called Immigrant, or you could just watch me here.
How about we binge everything? I want to binge it all.
Yeah, make it a January Maz.
Why not? Why not? I wonder if you've ever dealt with hecklers.
Oh yeah,
I'd like to see that.
There's actually a good clip. If people are, people are on YouTube, if you put drunk Trump heckler and then just put Maz, M-A-Z, you see me dealing with a drunk Trump heckler.
That's a treat. Now I will be checking that out.
Yeah.
Let's get to some of your comments about those Kentucky cops. Are we expected to believe that punching someone in the back of the head is a legit police procedure? Lynn is asking for a friend. We'll get back to you on that. My gut tells me no, but you never know. Next TYT reporter says, I think those vehicles with microphones are called propaganda machines. At least that's what I call them. Referring to me saying, look, we got to do something to deprogram these Karens out here. And so I said, can we just kind of loop it? You know, these messages to be broadcast in high density Karenicity areas. I think you start there. You don't subject everybody to it. Just start there. Andrew Martinez says, sounds like that school is teaching them how to be racist. We had that one from 2 school districts, actually, where students, Black students, had to say, whoa, enough is enough. The staff is participating in this racist, the insults, the harassment, the humiliation, and it seems like not doing anything about it. But we'll see. We shall see. Buzzy B had this to say about, Maz, you asked, what's the name? You know, we're saying male Karen. Is there another name that we can hone in on? But Busy B says, I don't want to use Kevin because I have an Uncle Kevin who definitely is not a male Karen. Well, that's the dilemma. I had an executive producer named Karen who was lovely. And I thought to myself, what a shame. Her name has been co-opted, and I would probably just go by my middle name. You can't go by Karen, not these days. So it's out there.
Maybe a male Karen could be a Donald.
No, that's perfect. And you better go on and figure out some kind of trademark if you're allowed to. And maybe you can sell Chia Pet, the Donald, the racist Donald, or just Donald, Don, something. But that certainly would signify this kind of conduct to me. Let's give you this one. I guess it's an honest mistake that any of us could make. But Sam, I hope I never do. This woman glued her eyes shut after mistaking nail glue for eye drops. Can you imagine the horror, the pain, the panic? Medicine cabinet mix-up just left a North Carolina woman hospitalized as doctors try to help her out of a painful situation. Unidentified woman apparently mistook her nail glue for eye drops, accidentally glued her eyes shut. Oh, God. In a post, she captioned, POV, your mom thought her nail glue was her eye drops. Rhea Fagart, the woman's daughter, shared video footage of her mother lying in a hospital bed. Video shows the woman blinking but unable to open her eyes as the sticky substance apparently has them sealed shut. While we're unsure of the brand of nail glue this woman used, we can tell you most popular products include label warnings, keep it out of the reach of children, and oh boy, avoid contact with the skin or eyes, the root with some of the reporting here. January 1 update. Fagart told followers that her mother is still in a lot of pain and that one of her eyes is still glued shut. One eye is still glued shut. The other eye is closed because it hurts too bad for her to try and open it without the other eye opening. See the swelling, the bruising on her eye? She's still in a lot of pain. Her eye is sensitive to light. She captioned the TikTok post. In the meantime, the family has set up a GoFundMe page to help cover the woman's expenses while she is out of work. Imagine calling in and saying, well, I can't come in today. Oh, well, what's wrong? I've glued my eyes shut. What? They'd probably say, get in here and stop playing. I mean, there's plenty to do. We don't have anybody to replace you. She will be out of work, and she's a foster mom. This is gut-wrenching too. So she does not have disability. If you have anything, it would help. Thank you so much, Regard writes on the page. She needs help. I can't imagine the pain and the panic, right? We all know how fast this glue dries. It's designed to hold quite well and to, when you're using it, you got to soak. I don't like these fake nails, and I'm not opposed to fake. But with the nails, it weakens. It's got to soak it off. It's time consuming, and it's a real pain. And speaking of pain, Maz, to put it in your eyes, I don't even know how they would begin to treat this.
Yeesh.
Come on.
They made a movie about this. It was called Eyes Wide Shut. No, I mean, that's just horrible.
Yeah.
I wonder, I mean, first of all, I guess maybe she obviously she needs glasses or something, because if that you're making a mistake for Visine versus nail glue, I don't know what the brand name of nail glue is, but I've never, mistaken, Gorilla Glue for Visine. It's two different things. You know what I'm saying? And so what a horrible thing to happen. This poor lady. I mean, gosh, to your point, imagine when your eyes are shut, by the way, if they're glued shut, the panic that would cause. Mm-hmm. And then you're thinking to yourself, okay, if I go to the hospital, they clearly have a de-gluing liquid that will de-glue my eyes. But we come to realize this doesn't happen that much.
Nah.
And therefore, the hospital doesn't have a solution. And therefore, a while later, one eye is still glued shut. Oh, my God.
I mean, this is going to be an ongoing situation. In the break, we discussed the Gorilla Glue hair woman. She had to undergo a special procedure to figure that out. But you do raise a good point. Perhaps, she needed the eye drops or her eyesight's not that great. I don't know. But I will tell you that this may be an opportunity for them to change the bottle. So there's no mistaking eye drop, nail glue, eye drop, nail glue. You might got to change the droppers, the bottles, so that even with your eyes closed, this doesn't happen.
And definitely don't store them next to each other.
Whoever did that, I don't know if it was one of the kids. That was the other point. Thank you for raising that. Why'd you put it in the medicine cabinet? Don't do that. And now look, I'm going to go check my cabinet now. Of course, nothing I own is my own with a 13-year-old daughter. I remember cleaning a room as age 5. And I would say, where's my mascara? Where are my nail clippers? I found them behind her rocking chair. I used to rock her to sleep in that. And where are all my things? She'd been stealing things out of my bathroom cupboard. But Maz, I certainly enjoyed being with you. And when you come to Atlanta, I'll definitely check you out. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you. Always a pleasure. Good way to start off 2025,
Yay.
Co-hosting with you. And I think we solved a few of the world's problems today.
I think you're right. I think you're right. Mostly on your end, as I'm just curious and just babble on and on. This is Indisputable. Dr. Ritchie will join you again soon. I'm Sharon Reed, along with Maz Jobrani. We hope you'll join us next time.